In this video, I will walk you through handout number 4. And the first part of this handout has us looking at MIT's Observatory of Economic Complexity. So I've gone to the website, and here I am in front of it. And so the first thing I'll do is click on Visualizations up here at the top center. And now, I'll be taken to just and this changes. So this happens to be what does France export in 2017. Now I'm going to stay with this page with France, but I'll show you how to get to the US. So the next step is to come over to the left-hand side on this menu on the left. And if you're not in front of exports already, this happens to have taken me to exports, you'll click exports. And then you'll come down just a bit to this drop-down bar that says country, and then you can either scroll down to the United States or just type it in this search bar here on the left. When you do that, once you do that, then you're going to click Build Visualization. Again, I haven't changed anything because I want you to do it for the US. And then once you're standing in front of, or sitting in front of the, what the US exports in 2017, you are prepared to answer the questions for part 1A. Okay. Once you finish the questions for part 1A, then you're going to come over to the left-hand side again, and now you're going to click on the drop-down menu that says Year. And you're going to scroll down until you get to the year 1965. And then you're going to click Build Visualization again. And then you'll be sitting in front of a new image. And then you'll be prepared to answer the questions for part 1B. Okay, so now I've moved on to part 2, the Herfindahl-Hirschman index. And so this index, which I'll start to call the HHI, basically just tells us how concentrated an industry is. And what it means specifically is that let's take the top 50 companies in an industry, and then let's look and see of all the sales that are made by every company in this industry, what percentage of sales goes to the top 50 companies. So if the top 50 companies are, say, selling, 80% of the sales in an industry, then we say we're closer to a monopoly. If the top 50 companies are, their what we call market share is much lower, then we say we're much more competitive in that industry. So you don't have that industry dominated by one company. And the way we really actually calculate this Herfindahl-Hirschman index is we just take the market share of each company in that industry, we square it, and then we sum that. And we get a number typically between something like 0 and 10,000. Sometimes it's represented in percentages, but with the census data it is not. And then in the directions I tell you that anything less than 1,500 we say is that industry is deemed to be competitive. If the Herfindahl-Hirschman index is between, above or at 1,500 and less than 2,500, we say that that industry is moderately competitive. And then if the HHI is above or equal to 2,500, we say it's highly concentrated or monopolistic. So here we're going to, one of the assumptions we typically make in our economics theory courses is that the market we are in is competitive. And so what we are trying to do is find out whether that is a good assumption. So the first step will be to go to the Census Bureau data. So here I am at census.gov. And then I'm going to click up at the top, or at least hover my mouse over the bar that says Explore Data, and then drop down and click Explore Data Main. Okay. Once I'm there, I'm going to click on American Fact Finder here on the left. I'm going to just click that icon. Then I am going to click on Advanced Search. Okay, so you're going to see that that drops down, and then it'll say, search all data, and I do want it to show me all. So I'll click on this bar that says Show Me All. Okay, So once I'm here, then the next thing I'm going to do is go over to the left-hand side on these bars here and click on Topics. And once I click on Topics, then I'll move over and click this little plus sign next to Business and Industry. And I'll see a whole new slew of menus open up. And so I will click on the plus sign to the left of Establishments/Firms. And then once I do that, I will click on Concentration of Firms. Okay, so I'll click that. You'll see something float over to the left. And then now I'm going to close this box. Okay. Now I'm going to scroll down just a bit, and I'm going to click on the table that says, I'm going to look at the manufacturing industry, and specifically I'm going to look at the share of value added accounted for by the 4, 8, 20, and 50 largest companies for industries. And if you just want to make and that's in 2012. And if you want to double check that you're looking at the right table, the ID number for that table, if I come to the left, is EC1231SR3. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on that table. Now I'm looking at a bunch of different industries. So I have, food manufacturing, I have animal food manufacturing, dog and cat food manufacturing, grain and oilseed milling, and so on. That's what I'm getting from this third column here, titled Meaning of 2012 NAICS Code. And then if I come over to all the way to the right-hand side, I'll see that the Herfindahl-Hirschman index for the 50 largest companies in that industry is listed over here to the right. So for example, if I go back to the directions and see that I've told you that anything less than 1,500 is understood to be a competitive industry. So if I look to see that food manufacturing, and in this column that I have highlighted here, in food manufacturing, my Herfindahl-Hirschman index for the 50 largest companies is 97, telling me that this is a competitive industry. Okay, you don't have, a few of the largest companies taking up a huge market share in that industry. But if I move down just a little bit, I'll see that, for instance, in the dog and cat food manufacturing industry, I actually am less competitive than in just food manufacturing generally, because the HHI there is 1,827.3. And again, if you look back at the directions, I've told you that an HHI between the in the range of 1,500 and 2,500 is understood to be moderately competitive, so slightly less competitive. Then if I scroll down even more, then I will get to a really a highly concentrated industry, and that's the soybean and other oilseed processing companies. So I see the HHI there is 3,580.5. Okay, so that's decently above that 2,500 number that I told you, beyond which we understand it to be a highly concentrated industry. Intuitively, what that tells us is that in the soybean and other oilseed processing industry, we have the 50 largest firms that take up a pretty large chunk of the market share. So of all the sales that are being made in this industry, a large amount are being made by the 50 largest companies. So it's not very competitive in that industry. And so what I want you to do, this is just the first page of some 100. And I just want you to scroll down this page, look at the HHI, and then using, the limits that I've given you in the directions, I want you to tell me which industries are competitive, which are moderately competitive, and which are highly concentrated. And then I want you to consider, think back about the assumption that we make about a, perfectly competitive market, and reflect on that assumption and whether you think it's a good one.